Alex Carter had always known he was different. Growing up on Earth, a planet the rest of the galaxy called a death world, he'd heard all the stories. The tales of war, pollution, and chaos that made Earth infamous were well known even in the farthest reaches of space. But Alex didn't see it that way. To him, Earth was a place of resilience, a world where people found ways to survive and thrived, despite everything stacked against them. Now, standing on the alien planet Zoreth 7, he felt both proud and out of place. Zoreth 7 was nothing like Earth. The sky shimmered with hues of purple and gold, and the air smelled faintly of something sweet, like flowers mixed with metal. Towering crystalline buildings stretched high into the clouds, their surfaces glowing softly as if alive. Strange vehicles zipped through the air, leaving trails of light behind them. Everywhere Alex looked, there were aliens, creatures of all shapes and sizes. Some had scales, others fur or feathers. A few floated above the ground without legs at all. It was overwhelming, but Alex reminded himself why he was here, to learn. He wasn't just any student. He had earned a scholarship to the Galactic University of Advanced Sciences, one of the most prestigious schools in the universe. His acceptance had shocked many, including some of his own teachers back home. Humans weren't exactly popular in the galaxy. Most species saw them as reckless, violent, and primitive. But Alex had proven them wrong, at least for now. His knack for solving problems had caught the attention of the university's admissions board, and here he was, ready to prove himself again. On his first day, Alex wandered through the sprawling campus, trying not to look too lost. The other students moved with purpose, their strange bodies gliding effortlessly toward classrooms and labs. He felt small and awkward, his human form so ordinary compared to the dazzling beings around him. Just as he began to doubt whether he belonged, a voice called out to him. "Hey, you're Alex, right?" He turned to see a young alien woman approaching him. Her skin shimmered like water under sunlight, and her long hair flowed as though caught in an invisible current. She introduced herself as Maya Patel, a student from an aquatic civilization called Nereus 9. Unlike the others, she smiled warmly and seemed genuinely interested in talking to him. "I've heard about you," Maya said. "The human who solved the energy grid puzzle back on your planet." Alex shrugged, feeling a bit embarrassed. "It wasn't that big of a deal. Just something I worked on during my last year of school." Maya tilted her head, studying him curiously. "You don't give yourself enough credit. People here are saying you might actually be smarter than you look." They walked together, chatting about their classes and the challenges of adjusting to life on Zoreth 7. Maya explained how difficult it could be for outsiders like them. Many of the professors favored students from more advanced civilizations, often dismissing those from lesser-known worlds. Alex nodded, already sensing the same bias. Still, Maya's confidence gave him hope. If she could hold her ground, maybe he could too. As they entered the main hall, Alex couldn't help but marvel at the technology surrounding him. Holograms flickered in midair, displaying schedules and announcements. Students interacted with floating screens, their fingers tapping invisible buttons. Everything felt alien yet fascinating. For a moment, Alex forgot about his doubts and allowed himself to imagine what the future might hold. But the calm didn't last long. As they stepped into their first class, Alex noticed the stares. Some were curious, others judgmental. At the front of the room stood Professor Krillix, a towering Vorthakian with dark, insect-like eyes and sharp mandibles. His presence demanded respect, or fear. When Krillix's gaze landed on Alex, the professor's expression twisted into something unreadable. Whether it was amusement or disdain, Alex couldn't tell. All he knew was that this was going to be a challenge, one he would have to face head-on. The classroom was silent as Professor Krillix began his lecture. His voice was deep and sharp, cutting through the air like a blade. He spoke about energy systems, resource distribution, and the delicate balance required to sustain life across planets. Alex tried to focus, but he couldn't ignore the weight of the professor's gaze. Every time Krillix glanced in his direction, it felt like a challenge, a test Alex wasn't sure he could pass. Krillix paused mid-sentence, tapping one of his clawed hands against the glowing podium. "Today," he said, his tone dripping with sarcasm, "we will discuss a problem that has baffled our greatest minds for over 1,000 years." The room grew even quieter, if that was possible. Students leaned forward, their eyes wide with anticipation. He pulled up a holographic display, filling the air with swirling diagrams and equations. It showed a network of interconnected planets, each struggling to share resources without causing collapse. Some planets were rich in energy, but poor in food production. Others had fertile lands but lacked technology. Balancing these needs had proven impossible, leading to conflicts and shortages. For centuries, scholars had tried to solve the dilemma, but none had succeeded. "This is not just a theoretical exercise," Krillix continued, pacing back and forth. "It is a real issue affecting countless civilizations. If any of you believe you are capable of solving it, I welcome your input." His words hung in the air, heavy with mockery. No one moved. No one dared to speak. Then, Krillix stopped walking and turned directly toward Alex. "Ah, yes," he said, his mandibles clicking together. "Perhaps our esteemed Deathworlder would care to enlighten us. After all, humans are known for their creativity." The class erupted into quiet laughter. Alex felt his face grow hot. He clenched his fists under the desk, trying to stay calm. Maya gave him an encouraging look, but he barely noticed. All he could think about was how unfair this felt. Why single him out? Was this some kind of game? "Go ahead, Mr. Carter," Krillix pressed, his voice colder now. "Show us what your primitive species is capable of." Alex hesitated for a moment, then stood up. The room went silent again. Every eye was on him, waiting to see what he would do. He took a deep breath, forcing himself to meet Krillix's piercing gaze. "I'll give it a try," he said, his voice steady despite the nerves bubbling inside him. Krillix smirked, clearly amused by Alex's audacity. "Very well. Impress me." Alex approached the podium, staring at the hologram hovering before him. The equations were complex, far beyond anything he'd seen in his textbooks back home. But something about the problem felt familiar. Maybe it was because Earth had faced similar challenges, though on a much smaller scale. He thought about the stories he'd read in history class, about nations fighting over oil or water, only to find solutions when they worked together. He started talking, explaining his initial thoughts. At first, his words came out slowly, unsure. But as he delved deeper into the problem, his confidence grew. He suggested breaking the system into smaller parts, allowing each planet to manage its own resources while contributing to a shared pool. It wasn't perfect, but it was a start. Krillix listened silently, his expression unreadable. When Alex finished, the professor simply nodded and gestured for him to sit down. There was no praise, no criticism, just silence. As Alex returned to his seat, he caught Maya smiling at him. She whispered, "That was good, really good." For the rest of the class, Alex couldn't shake the feeling that something big was coming. Krillix hadn't dismissed his idea outright, which meant it might actually have merit. But the professor's smug demeanor worried him. What if this was all part of some larger plan? Whatever the case, Alex knew one thing for certain. He wasn't backing down. Not now. Not ever. After class, Alex couldn't stop thinking about the problem. It gnawed at him, like an unfinished puzzle begging to be solved. He knew his initial idea had been a good start, but it wasn't enough. The solution needed to be more than just practical. It had to work for everyone, no matter how different their worlds were. Sitting alone in his dorm room, he stared at the notes he'd scribbled during class, trying to piece things together. Maya found him there an hour later, still hunched over his desk. "You're obsessing," she said with a small laugh, floating into the room. Her shimmering form cast faint ripples of light on the walls. "Even geniuses need to eat." "I'm not a genius," Alex muttered, running a hand through his hair. I can't let this go. There's something here, Maya. Something I'm missing." She pulled up a chair, or rather, hovered near one, and glanced at his notes. "Maybe you're overthinking it. Sometimes the simplest answers are the hardest to see." Her words stuck with him. Simple answers. Earth had taught him that lesson over and over again. Humanity's greatest breakthroughs often came from looking at problems in new ways, finding solutions hidden in plain sight. Alex leaned back in his chair, staring at the ceiling. What if the key wasn't perfection? What if it was flexibility? He grabbed a fresh sheet of paper and began sketching out a new plan. Instead of forcing every planet to follow strict rules, what if they could adapt based on their needs? Each world would have control over its own resources, but contribute to a shared network only when possible. It was risky. Some planets might take advantage. But Alex added safeguards to prevent abuse. If one planet struggled, others could step in temporarily, creating a cycle of mutual support. As the hours passed, Maya helped him refine the idea. She shared insights from her aquatic civilization, where cooperation was essential for survival. Together, they adjusted the equations, making sure the system accounted for differences in culture, technology, and environment. By the time morning light filtered through the window, Alex felt confident. They had something solid, a real solution. When he arrived at class the next day, Krillix was already waiting. The professor's sharp eyes scanned the room as students filed in, settling into their seats. Alex hesitated before taking his usual spot, clutching his notes tightly. He didn't know how the others would react, or if they'd even listen. "Mr. Carter," Krillix said abruptly, cutting off his opening remarks, "I assume you've given my challenge further thought." Alex nodded, standing up slowly. His heart pounded, but he forced himself to stay calm. Walking to the front of the room, he activated the holographic display and began explaining his idea. At first, the class seemed skeptical. Some students exchanged doubtful glances, while others whispered behind their hands. But as Alex continued, breaking down the complex equations into simple analogies, the room grew quiet. He used examples from Earth, how countries once fought over limited resources until they learned to share and adapt. How communities banded together during disasters, proving that cooperation worked better than competition. Slowly, the pieces clicked into place. Even Krillix, who had started with folded arms and a scowl, began to look intrigued. When Alex finished, the silence was deafening. No one moved. Finally, Krillix stepped forward, his mandibles twitching. "Interesting," he said, his tone unreadable. "Very interesting indeed." Alex returned to his seat, his legs feeling shaky. Maya gave him a thumbs up, her smile wide and proud. For a moment, he allowed himself to feel hope. Maybe, just maybe, he'd done something extraordinary. But deep down, Alex knew the hardest part was yet to come. Solving the problem was one thing. Convincing the galaxy to accept a solution from a Deathworlder. That would be another battle entirely. Word about Alex's solution spread faster than anyone could have imagined. By the end of the day, it seemed like the entire university was talking about it. Students whispered in hallways, professors debated in faculty lounges, and even the cafeteria buzzed with excitement. For the first time in 1,000 years, someone had cracked the infamous galactic dilemma. And that someone was a human. At first, the reaction was awe. Many students approached Alex to congratulate him, their earlier skepticism replaced by admiration. Some even asked for his autograph, treating him like a celebrity. Aliens who had once ignored him now greeted him warmly, eager to learn more about his thought process. Even Maya couldn't stop smiling. "You've made history," she told him one evening as they worked on another project together. "No matter what happens next, you've already changed things." But not everyone was pleased. A group of senior professors, led by Krillix, grew increasingly uneasy. They gathered in private meetings, their voices low but tense. How could a Deathworlder, an outsider, solve something that had eluded them for centuries. It didn't make sense. Worse, it threatened their authority. If a human could outsmart them, what did that say about their own abilities? The tension came to a head during a faculty assembly 2 days later. Krillix stood at the center of the room, addressing his colleagues. His tone was calm, but his words carried a sharp edge. "We cannot simply accept this so-called solution without scrutiny," he said, gesturing toward a holographic display of Alex's equations. "It raises too many questions. Where did he get these ideas? Did he truly come up with them alone?" Others nodded in agreement. A few suggested launching an investigation into Alex's background, searching for evidence of cheating or plagiarism. Perhaps he stole concepts from advanced civilizations. One professor proposed. Humans are known for their resourcefulness. The accusations stung, but Alex refused to let them break him. When news of the professor's doubts reached him, he felt anger, but also determination. He hadn't cheated. Every idea, every equation, had come from his own mind. If they wanted proof, he'd give it to them. Maya encouraged him to fight back. "They're scared, Alex," she said one night in the library. "Your solution challenges everything they believe about intelligence and superiority. That's why they're lashing out." Together, they began gathering evidence to defend Alex's work. Maya hacked into the university's archives, with permission, of course, to research the history of the dilemma. What they found shocked them. Several key documents had been altered over the years, hiding simpler solutions that might have solved the problem long ago. Someone, perhaps members of the faculty, had deliberately obscured those answers to maintain control. Armed with this discovery, Alex decided to confront the professors directly. During the next class, he waited until Krillix finished his lecture before speaking up. "I know some of you doubt my solution," he began, his voice steadied despite the weight of dozens of eyes on him. "You think I couldn't have done it alone. But here's the truth. I didn't copy anyone. I used lessons from Earth, lessons about survival, adaptation, and working together." He pulled up the altered documents on the classroom's holographic projector, pointing out the discrepancies. Gasps rippled through the room as students realized what they were seeing. Even Krillix looked taken aback, though he quickly masked his surprise with a scowl. "This isn't just about me," Alex continued. "It's about fairness. If we want to solve problems, we need to listen to everyone, not just the ones we think are smartest." The room erupted into murmurs. Some students cheered, while others sat quietly, processing what they'd learned. Krillix glared at Alex, his mandibles clicking furiously, but there was nothing he could say to refute the evidence. For the first time, Alex saw cracks in the professor's armor, and he knew he was winning. The fallout from Alex's revelation hit the university like a storm. Students were divided. Some rallied behind him, hailing him as a hero, while others sided with the professors, accusing him of causing unnecessary trouble. Tensions simmered in classrooms and hallways, turning what had once been a place of learning into a battleground of opinions. Even the air seemed heavier, charged with uncertainty. For Alex, the pressure was relentless. He became the center of attention everywhere he went. Some aliens approached him to offer support, praising his courage and ingenuity. Others glared at him, their expressions filled with suspicion or outright hostility. It wasn't easy being a human on Zorath 7, but this level of scrutiny was something else entirely. Despite the chaos, Alex tried to stay focused. He spent hours in the library with Maya, preparing for the inevitable confrontation with the faculty. Maya was his rock during this time. She helped him organize his thoughts, double-check his findings, and rehearse his arguments. "You're not just fighting for yourself," she reminded him one evening as they pored over documents. "You're fighting for everyone who's ever been told they don't belong." Her words gave him strength, but they also weighed heavily on him. What if he failed? What if the professors found a way to discredit him after all? The thought kept him awake at night, staring at the glowing ceiling of his dorm room. Still, he refused to back down. Earth had taught him how to face challenges head-on, no matter how daunting they seemed. The breaking point came when the faculty called an emergency meeting to address the growing controversy. Alex was summoned to attend, along with Maya, who insisted on standing by his side. The room was packed with professors, administrators, and even a few students brave enough to witness the proceedings. At the front sat Krillix, his sharp eyes locked onto Alex as if daring him to speak. When it was Alex's turn, he stepped forward, clutching his notes tightly. His hands trembled slightly, but his voice remained steady. "I didn't come here to cause problems," he began. "I came to learn and contribute, just like everyone else. But I've realized something. This university, and maybe the whole galaxy, is stuck in old ways of thinking. You dismiss ideas because of where they come from, not because of their merit." He paused, letting his words sink in before continuing. "My solution isn't perfect, but it works, and I didn't cheat to find it. I used lessons from my own world, lessons about survival, adaptability, and cooperation. If you want to move forward, you need to stop judging people based on their species or background." To prove his point, he displayed the altered documents again, highlighting the changes that had hidden simpler solutions for centuries. Gasps echoed through the room as the audience realized the extent of the deception. Some professors shifted uncomfortably in their seats, avoiding eye contact. Krillix, however, remained unmoved, though his mandibles twitched with barely concealed frustration. When Alex finished speaking, the room erupted into heated debate. Supporters cheered, while opponents argued loudly, refusing to accept the truth. In the midst of the chaos, Maya leaned over and whispered, "You did it. No matter what happens now, you've shown them the truth." As the meeting dragged on, it became clear that the faculty was deeply divided. Some members acknowledged Alex's brilliance and demanded accountability for those who had tampered with the records. Others clung to their biases, unwilling to admit they might have been wrong. By the end of the session, no official decision had been reached, but Alex knew the tide was turning. Walking back to his dorm that night, Alex felt a flicker of hope. The road ahead wouldn't be easy, but he planted a seed. Change was coming, whether the professors liked it or not. The controversy surrounding Alex's solution didn't stay confined to the university for long. News of the scandal spread across Zorath 7, reaching the ears of influential figures in the Galactic Council. The Council was a powerful governing body that oversaw interstellar laws and policies, and its members took a keen interest in anything that affected the galaxy's stability. When they heard about the altered documents and the professor's attempts to discredit Alex, they decided to intervene. A formal hearing was scheduled, and Alex was summoned to present his case before the council. It was a daunting prospect, facing not just the faculty, but an entire room of alien leaders who held the fate of civilizations in their hands. Maya stayed by his side throughout the preparations, helping him rehearse his arguments and offering words of encouragement. "You've already proven your point to the people who matter," she told him. "Now you just need to remind the council why fairness matters." On the day of the hearing, Alex dressed in his best attire, a simple yet clean outfit borrowed from a kind classmate, and walked into the grand chamber with Maya at his side. The room was massive, its walls lined with glowing crystals that cast soft light over the rows of seated officials. At the center of the room stood a podium where Alex would speak. His heart raced as he approached it, feeling the weight of dozens of alien eyes on him. When the session began, the council chair, an elderly Graxian with shimmering blue skin, invited Alex to explain his side of the story. Taking a deep breath, Alex recounted everything: how he had solved the dilemma, how the professors had reacted, and how he and Maya uncovered the tampered records. He spoke clearly and calmly, letting his passion shine through without raising his voice. "This isn't just about me," he said, gesturing toward the holographic display of the altered documents. "It's about making sure everyone gets a fair chance. If we keep shutting out ideas because of where they come from, we'll never solve the galaxy's biggest problems." His words resonated deeply. Several council members nodded thoughtfully, while others whispered among themselves. Krillix, who had been invited to defend the faculty's actions, struggled to counter Alex's arguments. For all his arrogance, the professor couldn't deny the evidence of tampering or justify why simpler solutions had been hidden for so long. As the hearing progressed, support for Alex grew stronger. Even some of the more skeptical council members softened their stances after hearing his explanation. One particularly vocal official, a towering insectoid named Counselor Zix, spoke up in Alex's favor. "This human has shown us something important," Zix declared, his voice echoing through the chamber. "True progress comes not from clinging to old ways, but from embracing new perspectives." By the end of the session, the council reached a unanimous decision. They ruled in Alex's favor, officially acknowledging his solution as valid and condemning the conspiracy within the university. The professors involved in altering the records were stripped of their positions, and reforms were ordered to ensure transparency and inclusivity moving forward. Walking out of the chamber, Alex felt a mix of relief and disbelief. He had done it. He had proven himself not just to the university but to the entire galaxy. Maya hugged him tightly, her shimmering form glowing brighter than ever. "You changed everything," she said, her voice filled with pride. But Alex knew this was only the beginning. The galaxy still had a long way to go, and he wanted to be part of shaping its future. As he looked up at the stars shining above Zoreth 7, he felt a renewed sense of purpose. Being a Deathworlder wasn't something to hide, it was something to celebrate. And for the first time, Alex truly believed the galaxy might agree. In the weeks following the Council's decision, life on Zoreth 7 began to change. The university implemented sweeping reforms, opening its doors wider than ever before to students from all corners of the galaxy. New programs were introduced to encourage collaboration between species, and professors were required to undergo training on fairness and inclusivity. For the first time in centuries, the institution felt like a place where everyone truly belonged. Alex became a symbol of hope for many. Students from marginalized worlds looked up to him, inspired by his determination and courage. He often found himself approached by young aliens who wanted advice or simply wanted to thank him for proving that anyone could make a difference. It was humbling, but it also reminded him of why he had fought so hard in the first place. Maya, too, gained recognition for her role in uncovering the truth. Together, they decided to take their partnership further. With support from a university and funding from the Galactic Council, they founded an independent research institute dedicated to solving interstellar challenges. The institute focused on bringing together diverse minds, scientists, engineers, and thinkers from every corner of the galaxy to tackle problems no single civilization could solve alone. Their first project was expanding Alex's energy distribution model into a fully functional system that could be implemented across planets. It wasn't easy. There were countless variables to consider, and not every world was eager to cooperate. But Alex and Maya worked tirelessly, traveling to different planets to meet with leaders and communities. Slowly but surely, they began to see results. Planets that had once struggled with resource shortages started thriving, and tensions between neighboring civilizations eased. Back at the university, Alex continued his studies, though now he did so as both a student and a mentor. He often gave lectures on problem solving, sharing lessons he learned growing up on Earth. "Creativity isn't about being perfect," he would say. "It's about finding new ways to look at old problems. Sometimes, the simplest ideas are the most powerful." Despite his growing fame, Alex never lost sight of who he was. He still felt like the same guy from Earth, the one who had grown up hearing stories about humanity's flaws and strengths. Those stories had shaped him, teaching him resilience and adaptability. Now he carried those lessons with him wherever he went, using them to inspire others. One evening, as he stood on the observation deck of the university, Alex gazed out at the stars. Maya joined him, her shimmering form glowing softly in the dim light. "What are you thinking about?" she asked, tilting her head curiously. "Earth," Alex replied with a small smile. "I wonder what people back home would think if they knew what I've been doing. They'd be proud, Maya said without hesitation. You've shown the galaxy what humans are capable of, not just surviving but contributing. That's something worth celebrating. Alex nodded, feeling a warmth spread through him. He missed Earth sometimes, missed the familiar sights and sounds of home. But he also knew he was exactly where he needed to be. Out here, among the stars, he had found a purpose bigger than himself. As the two friends stood there, watching the cosmos stretch endlessly before them, Alex felt a deep sense of gratitude. He had faced prejudice, doubt, and fear, but he had risen above it all. Being a Deathworlder wasn't something to apologize for anymore. It was a badge of honor, proof that even the smallest voice could spark change in the vastness of the universe. And as long as there were problems to solve and bridges to build, Alex knew he would keep pushing forward, for Earth, for Zorith 7, and for the galaxy itself.